Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Morning Podcast. And as usual, it's me, Nuno, the creator of Pest and Laravel Core team member. And today I decided to do a podcast about Pest 2.9. I know that this release has been out for a couple of weeks now, but because I have not done a podcast about it, I decided that today would be the day that I would bring Pest 2.9 to the morning podcast. Let me also start by saying thank you so much for your incredible support. Pest has now more than 7 million downloads, and I feel that the project is growing stronger by the day. So I just wanted to thank all of you all for your support. That being said, let's talk a little bit about Pest 2.9. As you may know, I have presented this release at Laracon US. I got lucky enough to be able to open Laracon US with Pest 2.9, and I feel like the reaction of everyone was really overwhelming. Now, let's talk a little bit about the features we have introduced in this new release. And the first one was snapshot testing. Now, as you may know, we already had a plugin to do some sort of snapshot testing, which was introduced and developed by the Spassy team. And to be honest, I was using that plugin all the time. And if you are not familiar with snapshot testing, is this technique that allows you to basically taking a snapshot of the behavior of the code, of its output, and then it will make sure that it doesn't change on the following tests. So the first time you run a particular test, it will create a snapshot file with the given output, and then the next time you run that particular test, it will compare the new output with the previous one. So if they match, you are good to go, and if not, Pest PHP will pretty much gives you a failure. Now, one of the features that I really like about snapshot testing is that people usually tend to associate snapshot testing with only HTML. However, you may use snapshot testing as well with arrays and pretty much everything that can be serializable to JSON. So I can think of, for example, on the toArray method on Laravel models. That's something that typically people use on Laravel APIs. And this is something that you probably want to snapshot and ensure that doesn't change over time. So snapshot testing is pretty much was the first feature introduced in this new release. The second feature we have introduced in this new release was describe blocks. And yeah, you have asked for this feature and we have delivered. Is probably the most requested feature we had since Pest and since day one of Pest, and they are finally available on this new release. As you can imagine, describe blocks are here to pretty much helping you to group tests and share setup and tear down logic. And one good example that I like to give is testing a login controller. So within a login controller, you typically have multiple actions like logging in, making sure that you cannot log in twice, and another action you can have is logging out, for example. But you probably want to create a user for all these actions. However, to test some other actions on this login logic, you probably want to log in a user first. So what you can do is pretty much have a before each outside this group, and then within a specific group you can log in a user and then perform multiple tests after it. So I feel like this crap stuff, it's pretty much here to helping you, making your testing life a little bit more easier and organized as well. Let's just finish these describe blocks by saying that you can also chain some actions at the end of your describe block. Some of them might be, for example, chaining a to-do at the end. As you may know, you can already mark tests as a to-do, but with describe blocks, you can now mark an entire describe block as a to-do. So it can be also useful on that regard. Something else we have introduced is architectural testing. Now, this one was actually very popular, one of the most popular plugins we have done in the past. And now we feel like with Pest 2.9, we are taking architectural testing to a new level by pretty much adding new expectations into this new plugin. You can do stuff such as checking if a namespace like controllers, for example, like app HTTP controllers, have the suffix controller, which is pretty cool to ensure that all files have the same naming conventions. You can do other things such as ensure that all files have the declare strict types declaration. You can also ensure that all the classes are read-only or are final by default if it's something that you like. So the gist of it is that we really improved this architectural plugin to make it more powerful than ever, and you might want to double check it because it's actually something really cool. Another thing we have introduced it with Pest 2.9 was type coverage. You probably have seen like code coverage on Pest and in Laravel. Code coverage is a little bit different from type coverage. So code coverage is the stuff that we already had, which pretty much allows you to see the percentage of code that is being tested. But now with type coverage, we give you the percentage of code that is using types, which can be a game changer if you think about it, because you can pretty much type -- type coverage and then specify a minimum of 100, for example, and pretty much ensure that every new pull request will have the code fully typed, which can be very useful. Obviously, using types is like a personal choice or a team choice. However, if you like to use types in your code, this can be really helpful. Now, last but not least, we also have introduced Drift. And the description I like to give about this plugin is very simple. Drift is pretty much like Laravel Shift, but for Pest. In the sense that you can simply type -- drift and migrate a fully PHP unit test suite to Pest PHP. And the transaction will be easy. The Drift plugin will pretty much migrate your entire test suite. You don't have to change a thing, and you will be reusing Pest very quickly with the help of this new plugin. So this was the wrap of this Pest 2.9 release, aka the Spicy Summer. And one of the best features of this release is the fact that it's pretty much a composer away from you. A composer update away from you. So you just have to type composer update and you get all these juicy updates very quickly in your project. And yeah, be sure to check out the documentation of this release on pestphp.com. We have all the details there. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me in another morning podcast. I can't wait to see the things you are building with the help of Pest PHP. And yeah, until next time, happy coding and keep spreading the testing love.